Yes, here we go. It is Saturday. Brunch on the bus. What's all that about, eh? But yeah, welcome along. If you are on the bus already, then a big shout out to you. I'm sure many more will join as we go. Celtic are through in the League Cup, first and foremost. Uh, a lot to get over with last night's display. A lot to like about it, I would say, most importantly as well, in terms of um, attitude and application. I think that was all there, it'd be fair to say. I thought the way we approached the game for minute one, to be perfectly honest, was exactly the sort of maybe sign of intensity that we hadn't seen as much of, albeit as I said with Jonathan through the week, the game at Bustalgia was one that I never felt we were going to lose watching the match. So we're very comfortable in that essence. Falkirk at home, that's the type of game you might expect to be saying similar rhetoric, but instead we seem to have upped the pace, upped the intensity, up the ante, if you like, when it came to the display. Of course, when you're making changes, there's people fighting for positions as well, and they've always got a point to prove. I thought Luke McCowan, just my takeaway, I thought in particular he looked very much up and at it, and he also looks more comfortable. No, I mean, I think he's always had a wee bit of swagger, a bit of personality on the ball. But I don't know, last night, maybe I'm just making it up, but it felt to me like he's fucking really feeling a belonging now that he's part of the mix when it comes to the Celtic first team, and he and is staking his claim to be ahead of, you know, some very important players. Cal McGregor in Celtic's history is one of our most important players. In recent times, Rio Tati's been one of our most important players. You've got Arnie Engels, a record signing. You've got a guy who captained the Portugal under-21 squad that we paid £4 million for. And you've got Luke McCowan, who's interestingly ahead of Bernardo. Engels got his first start. I thought his set pieces, I think it's been touched on probably by many, but they were very good. And you remember that technical ability that he's got, and that was always going to be highlighted eventually. I think this was a player that, when he was signed, the reason they paid 11 million for a player of a similar age to what is normally included in the player trading model. I think Arnie Engels at 11 million, but being the same age, I had to accept that when he joins at 20 years old, there's a lot of that is then you're investing in potential, not the finished article. We just happen to think his potential is greater than probably a lot of the players that we do sign in the £1-2 million bracket, albeit some of them come off, like Matt O'Reilly, for example, and that's great. But with Engels, I think expect him to be one of the first names in the sheet by the end of the season, I would expect. He played a lot of starts last year as well. We've been excited by what Negrin's brought in. But I think Engels is one to watch this year. And maybe with that slight lesser expectation on him as well, because I think last year no one can see past the fee. In fact, I've already brought it up as well, even on today's show. And I think it's a silly stick to try and beat a player with. They don't dictate the fee. Simple as that. So Arnie Engels could have cost 20 pence. He doesn't dictate the fee. But if you put in the same performances as last year, you'd be raving about him. So the fee does play a subconscious factor in how you're judging how a player's performing. And I'm just hoping with it now a year in, we're into season 2, and me finishing this conversation soon, that's kind of the last that we hear of everything being sort of tied in with £11 million fee. 6 out of 10 this week, 11 million fee. Not enough goals for open play, 11 million fee. You don't need to add that to everything at the end, You can give an honest opinion, and don't make it harder for him to be scoring a 7 out of 10 than you do for others. Be consistent, Arnie Engels, and I think you might be pleasantly surprised with him this year. There's a few years jumping on the bus as well. Almaty, he was in there first. Great. Boise bus on a Saturday. I know, mate. What's going on? It is going on. Martin Kay's in. He's saying troops. Martin Kay, a member, but not as long a member as Daniel O'Malley has been. 35 months, mate. What a legend. Thanks for that, pal. That is class. And it's all going good here. I was playing squash this morning. I got fucking pumped. Played out my skin last night against someone else. Played this morning. Couldn't get going. Proper half pot. No sauna, no steam room. Straight down that road. Still in the full gear. Sweat pissing off me. in a wee rage. Well, Martin K, just to level up, 35 months as well. There we go. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you've been members for so long. And it's funny how long this channel's actually been about for now. It seems to have flown in. There's R. Johnson. Good to see you, mate. Cooks. Aye, was a decent performance. It certainly was, mate. And we needed it, I think, as well. The squad competition that we've currently got, we've got concerns with. The reason for that being, guys, that there's not been enough players brought in. Simple as that. There's not been enough first team players brought in. I think numbers-wise, I'm not too despondent about the amount of activity in terms of recruitment. The issue I've got is how many of them are fancy to actually break into your team. I think Negrin aside, Negrin and KT aside, none of them. How's Shin Yamada not starting ahead of Johnny Kenny last night? If he really is a striker you think's ever going to be talked about as replacing Kyogo. Clearly he's not. Clearly he's another project player and irrelevant to the hunt to replace Kyogo that now has reached 8 months. 8 months. I take it both windows are tricky to do business in. I take it it's not as easy to get deals done. I take it clubs wanting to hold on to players to find out. I tell you what, see all this pish about football clubs that we approach having reasons all the time to be holding off selling to Celtic or overpricing it for Celtic. How come when we're the selling club, we never seem to have any... The clubs buying players off us never seem to face the same challenges. That's what frustrates me. I think as much as I'm positive about last night's performance, and we can go into further detail on it, that's no problem. I think one of the takeaways, if you wanted a negative angle, was undeniably that we're crying out for some top quality up front. And I think we've got it. I think if it were me, you'd be now saying to Dyson, how much do you want to play there? Is that what's going to make you tick more as well? I think it'll make the team tick better. But the reason they cannot put Maeda up front is because you can't switch Adam Maeda out to the wing or Johnny Kenny or Shin Yamada, right? So what it means is the step up for 2 wingers, I think it's going to have to be 2, is it's essential for what we're looking to get to where we were, I think, in the Champions League last year. Just to get back to there, we are going to have to bring in first team ready quality additions in the wide areas. And I think that allows Maeda to switch up front. Adam Maeda as a more than capable sort of second choice striker who will, I still genuinely think, get 20 goals again this year. I think folk might be surprised to hear that. That's fair enough, and I can understand people's trepidation with that sort of prediction. But for me, Adam Maeda got 20 goals last year, and you would never have known it. It wouldn't surprise me if he does the same again this year. But with Maeda, get him back on top. He got his goal at the weekend. But to do so, you're going to have to be proactive. That's the Champions League deadline gone and not a recruitment made. Anyway, on the game, it's amazing, isn't it, that KT's back and it's like he was never away. I mean, I would love to say I think he's a new improved version. No, I think he's just as good. I think he's just one of these guys that is an absolute baller and one that we are so fortunate to have playing for Celtic. See the first 5-10 minutes, don't know if you've noticed how many crosses you got. They weren't all pinpoint, right? No two ways about it. But the attacking purpose that Kieran Tierney shows, the way he'll win the ball back in high areas as well, is going to be crucial this year. But he's got physical presence, he's got power, and his final ball, on the whole, is very good. Very good. Although I will have to make a wee nod to when he made an absolute James Hunt it. I think he had a mind to shoot, then he maybe thought he should cross, and he kind of just pirouetted and landed on his arse with the ball right beside him. Not one for his copybook or his greatest hits, but notwithstanding that, I think he was our main attacking outlet in the open exchanges of the game, and it was no surprise come 26 minutes that he was the chap to get an assist. It was a beautiful clip ball from Callum McGregor, if you remember, through But KT, nice cushioned header in. And funnily enough, Dies Maeda in that striker. Or taking up that position you would expect a striker to. He knows how to put it away. He has an instinct for that. And funnily enough, that Celtic 1-0 up. And Maeda needed a goal as well. I'm glad he's now opened his account for the season, particularly when you're thinking of the Champions League, the enormity of these Champions League. The Champions League games going. Paw Patrol, what's this? Come on, we eye in the comments here. Are you still rage baiting for clout, Boycie? Oh, Paw Patrol, mate. I love that you think that. Thank you. That's actually cute that you think I come on here on a Saturday at noon to rage bait for whatever clout I can get. What does clout mean? £1.70 for today's show instead of £1.27? Is that the clout you're talking about, Paw Patrol? Behave, mate. I actually feel sorry for you thinking that's what anyone does, like, on here. Like, I really do feel sorry for you thinking that, because any reaction you get on here is just how I feel at the time. But yeah, call it what you want, mate. I'm sure you're happy doing your thing. Maybe that was some rage bait from you there, mate. Maybe you want clipped up. Maybe you want this to be on, everyone can know who Paw Patrol is. I'll maybe even send you the £1.27 as well. Anyway, back to more important things like the football. And yeah, we then go half-time 1-0, but so extraordinarily ahead for 1-0 that it gave you that lingering doubt, didn't it? It made you think, fuck, imagine if after all that hard work and on the backdrop of some rage bait from fans over the transfer activity, we were to end up fucking getting pegged back here to 1-1. That would be really frustrating, given how dominant we were in the first half and how good our intensity, application, and all these things were. Instead, it's our other fullback who hasn't been mentioned yet, Alistair Johnson, who decides to win the ball high up the park as well. And when he does, boy, oh boy, into the box, opens up the body, left foot, curls it into the far corner like he does it all the time. He confirms after the game, of course, it was his first ever goal with his left foot. Brilliant goal. And that settled us. That very much settled us after that, because the thing is, when you are at 1-0, I mean, it's all the old cliche, it's never done and all that crap, but it genuinely isn't. And I was concerned that, as I say, just with the other things going on around us right now, that it was going to be one of those games where we, do you know what I mean? Where we, it was going to be one of those games where, you know, if we do get clawed back and it does become level, that the crowd's going to get angsty, the negative vibes are going to, you know, get worse or heighten, and you know, the social media, the cesspit that is social media, is only going to sort of increase as well. We then get a third. I've just put the highlights on. I was trying to remind myself of this goal, to be honest with you. Fuck yeah, Dane Murray. It's a great header, that. And yeah, we spoke earlier on. Well, I mentioned earlier on about Arnie Engels. Arnie Engels' fantastic set piece delivery and proper technique. That's a great header for Dane Murray there. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts in the chat. I know the chat's pretty lively now, so let me know. Let me know what you thought of Dane Murray's overall performance. I think there's been a bit of over the top praise, if you will, for Murray's performance. I thought he was good. I think he was great. I thought he had a moment in the first half that could have been really costly for us, which there was no real excuse for, no real reason for. Either a lack of concentration, complacency, or feeling the pressure. Because it was absolute bread and butter, the sort of pass that he had to make, and it was strange that he gave it away so cheaply. Other than that, he did well. He did well. I'm not too up, not too down about it. If Dane Murray starts in the Champions League qualifier, would I be dancing about the living room? Absolutely fucking not. Simple as that. But it was interesting as well with Wednesday in mind. that KT started the game. I think that just shows that he wants to get run of starts with KT. We've spoken about his quality, but we need to talk about his fitness as well. He's brought up off again. I think it was 66, 70 minutes, something like that. I was surprised he started. I thought he might have been one of the ones guaranteed that would have been rested for this, but he wasn't. He was started, and you've got to build fitness as much as protect them and wrap them up in cotton wool. The difficulty is you've kind of got to build up your fitness levels and keep the body sort of getting used to being, pedal to the metal twice a week, whatever it may be. Well, usually twice a week when it's Celtic involved, So, yeah, that was an interesting start. Trusty was in the start lineup, obviously gives a bit of experience for the goal scorer, Dane Murray. I thought he did fine as well. But again, he cost 6 million, so he won't get similar sort of rhetoric and praise. I wouldn't have thought. Polly Murphys comes in. Let's do some of the comments. Obviously, there was the other goal, in fact, before we do that, and it was Yang who obviously came on within 2 minutes, reminded himself he could beat a man. Very unlike him. Misplaced his cross, it hit off a Falkirk defender and went in. Bit tongue-in-cheek, that. A wee bit tongue-in-cheek before anyone reacts. Polymorphous, it needs to be 2 wingers minimum, eh? Even when Jota's back. I think so. I think you would want Forrest, Jota, and 2 first choice. You want Forrest to be your 4th choice and your sort of wild card, if you like. Albeit I wouldn't be surprised to see Forrest even played through the middle at times this season. I think his football intelligence is very, very good. But yeah, I would like to think Jota would be a first pick once he's back fit. And you'd have 2 other first picks, if that makes sense. So they're all jostling for the jersey, maybe being rotated. Obviously, Nicholas Kuhn didn't like the idea of that, and I think when Jota arrived, he very much was he was pissed off. He seemed pissed off that you'd done enough to warrant not having superstar quality like that. And maybe it was just a wee bit bitter that Jota was such a handsome bastard and getting lauded for all the previous achievements he'd accomplished at Celtic and getting all that adulation. I think he was maybe a bit annoyed at that as well. But yeah, 2 wingers, and Polymorphos wants to describe them as well. Cool. He says the type of running wingers forwards do is different, and you always need to have more of them to impact change the game off the bench. Yeah, totally, mate. Totally. Well, you've got, and someone like Jota is going to be extremely creative. You have wingers like Scotty Sinclair, for example, who's extremely direct. First thought is always to try and cut inside, find an opening for himself to shoot, as opposed to Jota, I think, who can drag players into awkward areas of the park, create space in the middle, and whether he gets the direct assist himself or is just being able to manoeuvre the space to give it to someone else who can then set up a cross for getting in the box or whatever. I think he's more of a build-up winger in that sense, whereas someone like Scotty Sinclair for the past, just who's off the top of my head, was very much direct and about goals. And different styles definitely make different fights. So yeah, great point, Polymorphos, and you're absolutely spot on. I think 2 wingers moving wide up front, and would be very close to what we're looking for this season, to be honest with you. I think a left back competition for KT would be very good as well. The reason I say that, of course, is because Inamura got those couple of rave reviews for pre-season. I thought he looked quite tidy in pre-season. Manager doesn't think so. He's not in the Champions League squad, I'm led to believe, so that's interesting. Be definitely going forward are going to be relying, obviously, then for the Champions League on, I think, Liam Scales as your backup left back. How do you all feel about that? Is that something you're comfortable with? I'm not entirely sure myself. Sunny Boy back on to Dane Murray. Cool. He says, Murray's still got a lot to learn. My mate's son plays for Queen's Park, so I got to see a lot of their home games last season. To be honest, I wasn't all that impressed. He wasn't too impressed with Murray, but fingers crossed. That's interesting, Sonny, and thanks very much for the insight, because if you were at a lot more of the games, then you'll have seen, as you say, more of Murray than any of us will have at Queen's Park. Again, I didn't want to get carried away. Did I think he played well? Yeah, I did think he played well overall. I was watching a couple of, I watched a couple of the old streams and that last night or this morning and stuff. A wee bit too much praise, I felt, was getting dished out on one of them. I think there was talk of him being like a player we could sell 10 to 20 million and he can do it all. I just relax on that. I think there's a long, long way to go with that, and I certainly don't think Dane Murray will be starting in the Champions League on Tuesday. Cooks wants to know when the judge is back. The judge should be back this week coming. On Thursday, he's on his final day of his holiday, so we all hope that he's having a great time over there. And yeah, I mean, we're not that, strict on the bus that's drop your holiday, mate, get on the channel, put the sangria down. We did consider it, but no, I've just left him to have a good time. So that's very much an optional thing if you want to come on when you're on holiday. So yeah, no pressure there. He'll be back Thursday. I've got no doubt about that. Right, okay. Cook Dog comes in. Why is it Brendan that's taking all the questions about transfers? Why do all the so-called men at the top not speak to the fans and media? Every other top-level club do it. I think it's a brilliant question, first and foremost, Hook Dog. So thank you for putting that in. It's not something I was going to talk about. I think it's brilliant, though, because I'm happy to. Because it opens a can of worms that I'm all for opening. Because when it comes down to it, you look at Brendan is literally telling you now. I think he said it on Premier Sports after the game last night. I'm done with. I'm sick of harping on. I think was his words. Harping on. I'm sure he said about transfers, and I found that interesting. He doesn't want to harp on about it because he's the one, as you rightfully say, that's in the unwanted position of dealing with the impossible questions that are, why have Celtic not invested more when they've sold loads of money, sold players for loads of money, and they've made loads off the Champions League, and they've got Champions League qualifier coming again to make loads more money? Why are they not investing in the first team? How do you answer these things? The questions aren't even as direct as that, but they've all got that undertone to them. Of course they do. You've said many times you're not happy with the squad. How come we've not improved it, Brendan? Of course it's going to get annoying. And you're right. You see all the big clubs' channels, and we are a big club, remember. And we certainly like to remind people of that when it comes to selling shirts, etc., and our fan base worldwide. But you see sit-down chats with CEOs, you even see on TalkSport, some championship clubs like their chairman will come on or a CEO will come on, and they give you this amazing insight into why they do business certain ways, what their vision for the future is, how they go about when it comes to not jeopardizing finances and your future and things like that. So very open, very fair, very frank, and great insight for their club's fans to have, whether it be in their club's channels or national radio, whatever it may be. We get nothing and we leave Brendan out hung out to dry. Now, the reason I'll suspect for that, Hook Dog, is because if you don't have a plan, you can't discuss one. And I generally don't think they would want their hash bash, fingers crossed, hope for the best plan to be exposed or discussed, because that's how it will come across. They'll point to record accounts. You can only do that so many times. Well, stop talking about record-breaking money in the bank, when you never talk about the money you've missed. Spoke about that with Mick on Thursday. There's more than double in Celtic's coffer, more than double the money missed on Champions League money than there is currently in Celtic's coffers. So, see, when you think of things like that, that's damning, in my opinion. Absolutely damning. But yeah, great question, Hoopdall. But I suspect they do it because they're quite happy for Brendan being hung out to dry. They're quite happy for him to be the one to pick up the pieces on these things. They quite probably enjoy, in a weird way, watching him squirm. I know people are calling it conspiracy theory now and all that. If they think the board wouldn't support the manager, I'll be quite honest. My theory is the board don't like Brendan Rodgers. And Brendan Rodgers says there's people here who don't want me. Who do you think he's referring to? Gabriel Antiazzi, who works for, fucking easy for me to say, Gabriel Antiazzi, who works for Clyde One. I doubt it. The fans, I doubt it. Maybe some of them. Maybe it was a dig at them. Maybe it was some board members that we suspect weren't all that happy he was getting the job, or didn't ask it, weren't that happy with him first time round either. Maybe it was them. All these things should be considered. And when they stay radio silent, if they had Hoop Dog a swashbuckling plan, one that was, they would be out there front, left, centre, telling you, mate, with his shiny tie on, check this out, check that out, look how great we are. The bank balance champions, as Michael Garrity says, and you know, Michael, I've got to agree with you, buddy. I've got to agree with you. Seamus comes and he wants to talk about the backline, right? Okay. He says the backline of AJ, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Trusty, QT, with 3 good backup centre backs. Defence hasn't been stronger. Do you think Trusty is that other centre back? I hope so. I think AJ, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Trusty, KT, yeah, I'm happy with that as a back four. I think that is a solid back four. Really solid. Cameron Carter-Vickers, hopefully, do you think maybe his injury sort of troubles are behind them on the whole, in the main? Your body can always fail you, and I understand that, and sometimes more are more prone to picking up knocks, and maybe you'll always be in that bracket, but it certainly didn't seem to feel like it did maybe 12 months ago, where it was, at this stage, it was like, for fuck, you need to wheel out Cameron Carter-Vickers for a game, not play him 7 days, things like this. It's not even really getting discussed, so that's really good. And you know what, I want, you know, Cameron Carter-Vickers back to where he was, maybe Angie's sort of second season. Fuck, really good player. I mean, by the way, he still had a good season last year, by the way. No criticism from me whatsoever. I'm just talking about fine margins in terms of being a brilliant Cameron Carter-Vickers and a very good Cameron Carter-Vickers. Both are high, and certainly at that optimum standard we want each position at Celtic to have. Sadly, we don't. But yeah, I like that back four as well, Seamus, and thanks for listing it like that, because it's good to have the wee visual there. AJ, CCV, Trusty, KT, Schmeichel behind, vast experience. Yeah, I like that. I like that as well. Defence would be stronger with a proper backup left back. Anyone surprised Ralston didn't start the right back game, or do you think with that it was a case of I want to get the legs as much game time as possible before the Champions League match for the likes of Johnston and Kieran? Maybe. Who knows? The DM position though, Sonny now wants to talk about, and it's fair. This is what we're here for. Go around the houses, mate, with the positions. That's cool with me. We'll be really open against the counter. Yeah, I mean, I think we could be definitely looking at a player with a different physical profile to what we've currently got that could play number 6. And by that, I'm thinking of a destroyer. That is what I'm thinking of. A midfield destroyer. Someone who can, not bully is the right word. I think those days in football are sadly gone. Albeit I used to love all that sort of back and forth. I used to think it was great. But I definitely think when it comes to the robust physical challenges that are still allowed in football, maybe we are a wee bit lacking. In that. It's so funny how Paddy, my cat, always ends up in these podcasts. I swear he never is up there other than when I'm doing these channels. So he obviously knows where the camera is. Bizarre. Anyway, yeah, a robust DM, that'd be, you know, someone with a different physical profile to the rest. Someone who does look like they could put their weight about, you know, as and when permitted by the stupid fucking touch football rules that we now currently have, you know. But yeah, I think we could be doing some more physicality in there. Someone who's definitely going to lead by example when it comes to seeing the first 50-50 on the park and getting stuck in and showing, particularly maybe in the derby matches, to be honest with you. And I don't like saying that, but I think we've been overran in the midfield sometimes. I think we've got the better technicians, but they've shown the better desire and sometimes just strength, a wee bit more power in the central areas. So yeah, I think that's a fair point, Sonny. It'd be a good addition to get. Again, we're just going to have to be grateful for what we get, though, now. You know, it's not about, we're not going to be able to cherry pick all these positions. Oh, we did identify that. We've done the business. I just don't see it now. I think we'll definitely sign. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up signing a striker, not go down the wingers route that I would like us to, and put Maida as the club's number one striker. I would love that. The talk of him being potentially sold. Don't know if you've seen any of the gossip, but apparently Celtic had made inquiries to Jack Grealish, but only on the. I mean, it was only, in my opinion, going to be after Everton were fucking like confirmed to have put an offer. Celtic will express an interest then. It's just to look busy, mate, stuff like that. They would never ever have entertained whatever cut price Man City would have done. City would have done you a good deal. They would have said, look, he's on 300 grand a week. We'll give you him for 80. We'll cover the rest, something like that, 90. Because it's Celtic, we've got a good relationship. Celtic wouldn't entertain that. So it's pie in the sky stuff, that. And I guess just to look busy when, as soon as they had Everton, were off, stick us alongside that. Stick our name in there as well. That's what that struck me off. But there was the other rumour of Dyson going. That one worried me. You want to keep him as happy as possible. If there is talk that he's determined that he's going to be a striker for Celtic, make him the striker. You've got a 35-goal striker there, waiting in the wings to start games for you up front, already there, fully fit, knows the team, doesn't need to gel. Boom. What a win that is. Now you're faced with the problem of the winger situation. You're going to have to face up to it, and it's going to need to be soon. But of course, the links that we do see now are Strelic again from Bratislava. Slatislava, I know they called him there. Strelic, and now we see, of course, Balik Shawa, I think I'm pronouncing it right, from Royal Antwerp. He's linked again. Do we take years to get deals done? Years? Is that what it is? Like, clubs take weeks, we take windows to get deals done. I'm going to remember that line. Clubs take weeks, we take windows to get deals done. It does seem bizarre. Or is it just the same black book they just currently go? They just go back to go, oh, fuck. Right, you better get someone. We're going to Kazakhstan now. That is going to be trickier than we thought. Right, okay. What have we got? Strelic. Oh, great. He's just been knocked out the Champions League. He'll be available now. Now, wait. Shouldn't that have been our rhetoric then when it came to Nicholas Kuhn? We've got Champions League qualifiers upcoming. He's not available now. It's only when we're buying. It's the selling clubs to Celtic that come up with these tricky little nuances when doing deals. It's not like Celtic are selling players. Oh no. Roll up. And you come. Anything over 15 million, we are open for talking about business. So frustrating, that. Seamus says he's not sure about Strelic. Wasn't great in those qualifier games. Well, I mean, that would be the irony of all ironies, that we sign a player who couldn't score against the team we were playing against the Champions League qualifiers. Not that he would be able to play in that, but just like fucking hell, man. Is that what it led to? I've not watched him play, so I can't really comment, to be honest with you. But yeah, you would like to have thought he'd been able to have got a goal in against this side. Daniel O'Malley says as well, solid DM I have been crying out for years. I think Pato was in earlier asking about what was on the brunch menu. Brunch on the bus. He was wanting cucumber and prawn sandwiches. Well, I hope you do get some, Pato. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. And everyone enjoy your Saturday. That's the football done for this weekend. Hopefully we'll have business to talk about. You never know. I might jump back on tomorrow for a wee bit if there is any news. If not, I will be back with Jonathan early next week. I think, in fact, I don't know. I think I will be. That'll be fine. And the judge will be returning on Thursday. Wednesday night, I might come on after the game. Just depends. I know, obviously, the post-match show, the boys in the bus are going to be keeping doing what with Terry and that, what we did before. So it's certainly, you're not trying to clash with them, but when Celtic play, every pod goes live. So if I've got the odd one where I go, do you know what? I enjoyed that game. Or there's drama in that game that I want to discuss. There was rage bait in that game I want to discuss for clout, Paw Patrol. Then, yeah, I'll be nicking on the same as every other pod. But in the main, I'm quite enjoying just watching the Celtic matches now. But yes, I will see you before Wednesday. That is for sure. Enjoy your weekend, whatever you get up to. And thanks again for watching. See you later.